Hey everyone, welcome back to Reliable Prepper. Today we're tackling a real and urgent threat, the possibility of an EMP attack. Imagine this, one moment life is normal, the next there's no power, no running water, no cars that start, no internet. Everything we rely on is down. That would be the impact of an EMP attack. With global tensions on the rise and several powerful nations capable of launching an EMP against the US, this is a scenario we need to prepare for. In this video, I'll walk you through everything you need to know to survive an EMP attack, from understanding the risks to immediate and long-term strategies that will keep you and your loved ones safe. We'll dive into some unique and practical tips on how to protect electronics, communicate in a blackout, and make the most of manual tools. You'll learn some unconventional strategies that can give you a real edge. If you're serious about prepping, be sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and follow us on Facebook for more prepping advice and updates. All right, let's get started with the big picture. Why this threat is real and why we need to take it seriously. To understand why an EMP threat is so serious, let's start by looking at the current global landscape. Right now, we're seeing a level of tension we haven't seen in years. Global superpowers are pushing boundaries, forming alliances, and advancing their military technologies, including EMP-capable nukes. 4 countries in particular stand out as EMP threats to the US: North Korea, Russia, China, and Iran. First up, North Korea. They just recently launched an intercontinental ballistic missile successfully, with the capability to reach the US mainland. This missile is believed to be able to carry a nuclear payload that could detonate at high altitude, generating an EMP large enough to disable power grids across entire regions of the US. The disturbing part? North Korea is likely getting help from Russia to develop this technology. Their leadership has repeatedly shown willingness to challenge the US, and a high-altitude EMP attack is a real possibility. This could leave millions without basic services, power, or communication. Now, on to Russia. Russia has long been a major player in the EMP game. They've invested heavily in EMP technology and have one of the most advanced nuclear arsenals in the world. Recently, they've strengthened their ties with North Korea, potentially sharing EMP-related technology. With Russia's tensions with NATO and the US, the possibility of an EMP attack is a significant concern. Russia's expertise in EMP warfare, combined with their alliances, makes them a credible threat. Next, China. China has rapidly expanded its military and nuclear capabilities, aligning strategically with Russia and North Korea. China doesn't openly discuss EMP warfare often, but they have the technology to pull it off. And with their interest in expanding influence, they are another player we need to be wary of. If they or one of their allies launched an EMP, the consequences for the US could be massive. And then there's Iran. Iran has made progress with its nuclear program and formed a military partnership with Russia. Although their missile capabilities may not yet match North Korea's, Iran's increasing alignment with Russia could eventually make them a threat. Together, these global alliances create a credible risk that we need to prepare for. Now that we understand the threats, let's dive into exactly what an EMP is and why it's such a game changer. What exactly is an EMP and why is it so dangerous? An EMP, or electromagnetic pulse, is a burst of electromagnetic radiation that can either be natural or man-made. Naturally, EMPs can occur during solar storms or coronal mass ejections, CMEs, where particles sent toward Earth can disrupt or disable electronics if they strike at just the right angle. But the EMP that experts worry about most is a high-altitude nuclear EMP, HEMP, created when a nuclear device is detonated high in the atmosphere. This type of EMP has the potential to impact electrical systems over thousands of miles, affecting entire countries in one fell swoop. Each type of EMP brings its own characteristics and dangers. Solar EMPs are intense enough to cause widespread disruption, as demonstrated by the 1859 Carrington event. This massive geomagnetic storm caused telegraph wires to spark, set fires, and disrupted the primitive technology of the time. Today, with our deep reliance on electronics, an event like this would be far more catastrophic, potentially bringing down the entire power grid. Nuclear EMPs are more complex, with multiple pulse components that make them particularly damaging. There's the E1 pulse, a fast burst that can instantly destroy microcircuits in electronic devices. The E2 pulse, similar to a lightning strike, could damage any unprotected systems that survive the initial E1 pulse. Then there's the E3 pulse, a slow-moving wave like a geomagnetic storm that would induce currents in long conductors, such as power lines, possibly damaging large transformers and crippling the power grid. An EMP attack would have catastrophic consequences for U.S. infrastructure. The American power grid, divided into three main sections, is extremely vulnerable. A powerful EMP could overload circuits, fry transformers, and knock out power across vast areas. Repairs would take months, possibly years, and without power, critical systems would fall apart quickly. Communication systems would likely be the first to go. Cell towers, radio signals, and internet servers all depend on electricity. With no power, there'd be no way to call for help, receive updates, or organize a response. This isolation would cripple emergency services, government agencies, and families, making coordinated relief almost impossible. Transportation would grind to a halt. Most modern vehicles rely on electronic systems, so an EMP could leave highways full of stalled cars, grounded planes, and halted deliveries. This would disrupt the supply chain immediately, emptying stores of essentials like food and medicine in just days, and pushing the economy into crisis as production halts and markets crash. The mortality rate could be devastating, with some estimates suggesting that up to 90% of Americans might not survive the first year. Immediate deaths would occur from accidents, lack of medical care, and general unpreparedness. Over time, food and water shortages, sanitation issues, and exposure to winter conditions would worsen the crisis, leading to malnutrition, disease, and even violence over scarce resources. These figures highlight how deeply vulnerable we are as a society dependent on electronics. An EMP would cripple far more than just the power grid. It threatens nearly every aspect of modern life. Our society is interconnected through electronic systems: banking, healthcare, food distribution, water treatment, and utilities, all of which would be rendered useless. This isn't just a blackout. It's a step back to a pre-industrial era, with recovery slow and incredibly challenging. That's why understanding and preparing for an EMP threat is so critical. If you suspect an EMP has occurred, your first step is to confirm it. Test multiple devices like your phone, flashlight, or radio. If they all suddenly fail, especially if they weren't connected to a power source, it's likely an EMP. Check for other signs outside. Stalled cars, dark traffic lights, and lack of radio signals can all indicate a widespread impact. Once you've identified the situation, staying calm is crucial. Take a moment to clear your mind, think through your emergency plan, and avoid panicked decisions. Keeping a level head in the first critical hours will set you up for success. Next, head to a safe location, preferably your home or a designated meeting spot with supplies. Avoid crowded areas, as they may quickly become chaotic. If you have a prearranged meeting point with family, go there and make sure everyone knows where to regroup if communication is down. If separated, consider using a signal like a specific colored cloth or whistle pattern, or leaving a waterproof note in an agreed-upon spot. Once in a secure place, check for immediate hazards like gas leaks, fires, or structural issues, and lock down entry points to prevent unauthorized access. Next, review your essential supplies. Ensure your water is accessible and safe, take stock of food, and prioritize perishable items if you don't have backup cooling. Then start executing your communication plan, using non-electronic signals or leaving messages for family members. Begin transitioning your mindset towards long-term preparedness by inventorying resources, setting up any alternative power sources like solar panels, and thinking about how you'll communicate beyond your immediate group, such as with a ham radio, if available. These steps will help you survive the critical early hours and prepare for the many long days and weeks ahead. Preparation is your best defense against an EMP, and it starts with creating a secure, well-stocked base, ideally your home. This should be your primary location, equipped with food, water, and basic resources. Make sure every family member knows where to go and what to do in the event of an EMP, and if you're separated, have a specific regrouping point arranged. Having a clear plan in place will help keep everyone calm and focused during a crisis. One key strategy to protect essential electronics is to use common household items as makeshift Faraday cages. Metal containers, aluminum foil, and even a metal trash can with a tight-fitting lid can shield devices like radios, flashlights, and cell phones. Wrap each item in foil, place it inside the container, and seal it. To test the setup, put a radio inside, tune it to a station, and close the container. If the signal cuts out, you're likely protected. This step can preserve critical communication and information tools when an EMP hits. It's also wise to keep some solar power gear on hand, stored separately from batteries. Practice setting up solar panels in low light or limited conditions so you'll be able to do it post-EMP if needed. For a more sustainable power solution, look into old manual tools. Hand-crank devices like sewing machines, coffee grinders, or typewriters will be invaluable in a powerless world. Get familiar with these tools now, using them occasionally to build your skills so they'll be second nature in an emergency. When it comes to resources, water and food are your top priorities. As soon as you confirm an EMP event, fill every container in your home with water. Bathtubs, sinks, and any large vessels. You can also set up rainwater collection systems using tarps or containers, but remember to purify or boil any water collected to make it safe for drinking. Stored water can be preserved with a few drops of bleach per gallon for long-term use. Food management is crucial. Start by consuming any perishables in your fridge, then move on to canned and freeze-dried foods, which don't require refrigeration and can last for months. Ration carefully, prioritizing foods with shorter shelf lives first, and try to plan meals with an eye toward the weeks and months ahead. Having a stocked pantry and organized meal plan will ease the strain as supplies start to dwindle. Another tip is to set aside items specifically for bartering. In a world where money loses value, items like batteries, matches, seeds, aspirin, hygiene products, and even liquor can be incredibly valuable. Think about what people might need or crave when supplies run out, and set up a small stash for potential trading. Having bartering supplies could give you leverage to trade for essential goods that may be scarce. Every action you take now builds a foundation for survival in a world where modern conveniences may no longer exist. Having your supplies organized and ready to use in a post-EMP world is crucial. Start with a dedicated survival area in your home, a closet, a basement, or even a shed, where you can store all your emergency supplies. Keep essential items like first aid kits, batteries, candles, and other non-perishable supplies in one easily accessible location. Having everything in one spot means you won't waste time searching for what you need in an emergency. For medicines, make sure you have at least a few weeks' worth of any prescription meds, and if possible, try to build up a longer supply. Stock up on over-the-counter essentials like pain relievers, antiseptics, and allergy meds too. These items are often overlooked, but they'll be invaluable when pharmacies are no longer an option. If you have any kind of backup power source, like a solar generator or a battery bank, store it safely and only use it when absolutely necessary. Learn to ration power for things that are critical, like lights at night or emergency communications. Remember, this isn't just about the short term. Power may be unavailable for a long time, so every bit counts. And consider creating a survival library of printed materials. With no internet, having books or printouts on first aid, gardening, basic mechanics, and survival skills will be essential. Photocopy critical manuals or guides and store them in waterproof containers. These printed materials could be lifesavers when digital resources are gone, so organize them into a section where everyone in your family knows to look if they need information. Without power, security becomes a primary concern, so it's crucial to make your home as secure as possible. Begin by securing all entry points like doors and windows. Reinforce your doors with deadbolts or barricades, and if you have any spare wood or metal, consider adding additional bracing for extra strength. You can even get creative. Install bars on vulnerable windows or rig up an improvised alarm system using cans or bells. This kind of alert system may seem simple, but it can be an effective way to detect movement and stay aware of potential intruders. If you rely on a generator for power, keep it in a hidden or enclosed space to avoid drawing attention. Generators are loud and broadcast that you have resources others may want. Use it sparingly and, if possible, add soundproofing like blankets or insulation to muffle the noise. Keeping it low-key will help avoid unwanted attention and increase your overall safety. Lighting can be a subtle but significant security risk. Use blackout curtains or hang blankets over windows to prevent light from escaping and marking your home as one that still has power. LED lanterns or candles are ideal for indoor use as they're easy to control and relatively safe, but always shield them well to avoid revealing your location. The goal is to keep your home dark on the outside but fully functional on the inside. In a situation where tensions may be high, stealth and a low profile are essential for staying safe and secure. Another strategy that can add an extra layer of security is creating hidden caches. You can bury small stockpiles of essential items around your property or in secure locations nearby. These caches might contain things like extra food, tools, or seeds. Keep a map of their locations, but don't rely on digital means to remember where they are. A physical map with coded markers is best. Check on these caches every so often to make sure they're still secure and the contents are usable. Having hidden supplies can be a game changer if your main stash is discovered or if you're forced to leave your home. This way, you'll always have backup resources available and won't be entirely reliant on your primary storage. Maintaining communication will become one of the most challenging but essential tasks. When modern systems fail, having alternative methods ready will keep you connected with your community and provide the information you need to make critical decisions. Let's start with ham radios, one of the most reliable options for communication after an EMP. A smart upgrade for your ham radio setup is a portable, collapsible antenna, often called a backpack antenna. These lightweight, foldable antennas can be carried easily and set up within minutes, providing mobility and resilience during an EMP. Plus, if you equip your ham radio with a solar charger attachment, you'll have a truly mobile and sustainable way to stay connected. A solar-powered ham radio setup allows you to move around while maintaining a power source, even when traditional electricity is down. When you need to communicate without being there in person, consider setting up a system of predetermined drop locations for written messages. Use waterproof containers or even small buried caches to keep notes secure, and establish a simple code or system with your group to make the process effective. Written messages may seem old-fashioned, but they're a lifeline when direct communication isn't possible. To keep these tools safe, consider shielding them with a Faraday cage. For smaller electronics, a metal trash can or an aluminum foil-wrapped container works well. But if you want to go further, consider building a DIY Faraday room. By using conductive materials like fine mesh or specialized paint, you can create a protected area for larger equipment, turning it into a secure communication center. To make sure your Faraday setup is effective, test it using controlled EMP simulators, which are often available as educational tools. Knowing that your gear is protected is invaluable when it matters most. One thing that often gets overlooked in a post-EMP scenario is waste disposal and hygiene, but they're both absolutely essential. Without functioning water treatment or sanitation, sewage and household waste can quickly turn into major health hazards. If your toilet stops working, the first thing you'll need to do is set up a latrine. Make sure to dig it at least 50 meters away from any water source or your living area to keep things safe. For a basic latrine, digging a pit around 2 to 3 meters deep is usually enough. If you can, line it with something like brick or wood to prevent it from collapsing over time. To keep odor and flies down, you can install a vent pipe. PVC works great for this. And cover the waste with soil or wood ash after each use. Once the pit is full, cover it with soil, plant over it if you can, and dig a new one. And if you want to go the sustainable route, a composting toilet is a great option. It requires very little water and, over time, turns waste into compost that's safe to use. Now let's talk about household trash. Burning garbage can release some nasty fumes and attract attention. So, if possible, create a designated pit for burying trash instead. Keep it far from your home, and make sure it's at least a meter deep to discourage animals from digging it up. For better decomposition, start with organic waste at the bottom, cover it with soil, and add non-organic waste on top. And if you do need to burn trash, use something controlled like a metal drum, ventilate well, and be aware of the wind so smoke doesn't blow toward your area. Recycling and repurposing can also be huge lifesavers in situations like this. Old plastic containers can be used for storage, metal scraps can be transformed into tools, and glass jars are perfect for preserving food. Getting into the habit of reusing items wherever possible really makes a difference when resources are limited. Maintaining good hygiene is critical, especially when medical help and clean water are scarce. Start by setting up a way to collect and purify water. Rainwater is ideal, but if you have access to a natural water source, filter or boil it to make it safe. Store it in clean, covered containers to keep it free from contaminants, and adding a few drops of bleach per gallon can help keep it safe over time. Hand washing is one of the most important habits to keep. You can create a simple hand washing station with a jug or container that lets water flow slowly for controlled use. Wash hands often, especially before handling food. For bathing when water is limited, no rinse wipes work well. or you can make your own with cloths soaked in diluted alcohol or antiseptic solutions. For food storage and pest control, keeping your food secure is key. Store it in metal or tightly sealed plastic containers to protect it from pests. To keep bugs away, sprinkle a little diatomaceous earth where needed, but avoid areas with food. Herbs like mint, basil, or lavender can also help repel rodents, and a bit of vinegar near entry points works well for ants. These steps will help keep your living area clean and reduce the risk of illness, which is crucial when healthcare is hard to come by. Preparing for an EMP goes far beyond just stockpiling supplies. It's about anticipating the challenges, finding resourceful solutions, and building the skills you'll need to keep your family safe and resilient. Every step you take now, whether it's creating a Faraday cage, learning low-tech communication methods, or practicing resourcefulness with waste and hygiene, adds to your overall readiness. An EMP could happen with little warning, but by preparing thoughtfully, we increase our odds of maintaining stability and safety. Take these steps seriously, and you'll be better equipped to handle the unexpected if it comes our way. If you found this video helpful, please remember to like, subscribe, and follow Reliable Prepper on Facebook for more prepping advice and updates. Your support helps me keep bringing you practical, reliable prepping content. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.